Hello and welcome to the Civil KraigD Civil 3D tutorial videos. Thanks for liking and subscribing to my channel. I hope these videos will help someone who's trying to learn a little more about Civil 3D. And right about now, everybody's got a lot of time on their hands to learn more about Civil 3D because we're all at home. I've done a video in the past about the creation of pressure pipe catalogs and pressure pipe networks and things, but I really didn't get into the deep issues of why this is such a confusing part of Civil 3D. So I figured this would be a good chance to show all of the pieces and parts, and as I understand them, how they work with Civil 3D. So the beginning part of creating a parts catalog underneath the pressure networks parts list is that you need to look up in your ribbon underneath create design, set pressure network catalog. And that's going to pull up a dialog box that tells you where these are saved at, and then there's a database file that each one of these has a different catalog of available parts, available bins, pipe, and appurtenances. They all look a little bit different, and they all have a little bit available depending on the type of the part. So it can get real confusing if you're trying to figure out what you want to use, or if you're creating it for your company or that sort of thing. One thing I did learn a while back was that you cannot take these catalogs and put them on your server at work and have everyone path to this. Because see, the default is that it's on your C drive. With Gravity Networks, I take this catalog that they save on your C drive out of the box, and I put it on the server so that when people make updates to that catalog, or the CAD manager would make an update to the catalog, it is pressed out to everyone who is referencing that catalog. Well, that does not work for pressure networks. It only works for Gravity. So if you've done that in the past with Gravity, you need to leave it as the C drive. So what I have done is I have created parts lists for each of these different types of catalogs, and I will run through each one of those to kind of show you what's available and what's not available, and then I have made a little network of each one of these to kind of show how they look different. They all act the same as far as, you know, adding pieces and parts. It's all going to be similar. Come up with the yellow, and then you add a bend, and so on and so forth. The wrong size was picked up here in the ribbon, but I was just showing that you can add just the same to all of them. So I have this, I had set it, but I've already created each one of these. If you go to your parts list and right click and edit, you can go to the summary tab and see which parts list it's referencing. I call this one appurtenances. It's referencing the steel catalog. It has a few fittings that the other ones don't have. This has a Y and a reducer. The appurtenances is where it has the most. It has got a lot of options as far as what you can add in. You know, just about every type of valve, butterfly, gate, check, plug, and it has a hydrant. I've added a few of them in on this one because this is a parts list that I actually use. I rename these as when they come in, something that is a little more manageable than the default, because if you add, I'll delete the 48 and show you what it looks like when you add in just one of those. The name is really long. Comes in ball valve 48, metal seat. It has a lot of information there. I don't really need to see all that, and the reason why I changed that is because when you go to add that into your network, that long information is in the ribbon, and you can't really see what you're adding. So I go through here and it takes a long time, and you don't have to do this. It's just for ease of use after the network parts list has been created. But I rename these so that when I'm trying to use it, this is the one that I had. This is using the EG water, which is not the appurtenances, but you can switch back and forth, and I'll show you how that works. If you're trying to add in pieces and parts to this pressure network, come up here, click on Edit Network, Plan, and you can see this is what I was talking about as far as the naming convention. If you shorten it down to an easier to use and easier to read name, it won't be really long in the directory up here. It's easy to find what you're looking for. On the flip side, I have not went through and renamed all of these other ones. So if I was to try to edit this one, Plan Layout Tool, see, these names are just really long and hard to tell what you're looking at. There's a lot going on, so it's best to shorten them down. So I'm going to switch to my EG, which is the company I work for. So we're going to go to EG Water. The EG Water is looking at the EG Water is looking at the push-on parts catalog. I like it the best because of the way the bins and fittings look. The fittings, bins, called both ways. This is an appurtenance. This is like a valve. This is a valve. I prefer this style, but it could be up to whoever. It's up to your discretion as to which you like the best. Like the mechanical parts list looks like this. The bins just have a little more to them, longer. This looks more like a flanged water bin that I'm used to seeing. But as you're editing inside of your pressure network, you pick your different size of pipes. To add a piece and a part, you can go pipes and bins or pipes only. So pipes and bins, and, click and drag, and it's real, pretty easy to use. And up here in the ribbon, it shows you what your reference network stuff is. Like this is giving me 3 inches or 3 feet of cover underneath my existing grade. So as I go, if I was to put these in the profile view, it would push this down 3 feet below the surface. Within this network, it does not have a lot of options as far as the appurtenances. So if I was to look here and look at the appurtenances it has available, it only has gate valves available within this pressure network parts list. So what I have done is I created this appurtenances part list that is referencing, again, I showed this earlier, but it's referencing the steel catalog. And what you can do if you have a parts list that you prefer for the sizes and the fittings and the way it looks, if you create a parts list from another catalog, you can come up here and switch to any of these different parts lists, and then what becomes available is what is in that you created. So if I need a ball valve or any other, any of these different appurtenances, you can just switch, and they're still inside of this network. It's just referencing another pressure network parts list catalog. It's very confusing, and I feel like I'm not doing a good job explaining it, but the way that I am trying to say is that within this proposed water main, I have created pipes and fittings from this pressure networks part list, but it did not have the availability of the appurtenances that I needed, so I created a pressure networks parts catalog or parts list that did have it, and you can switch to that, and then what is available changes. Sometimes you're working with a part list and it doesn't have a reducer, and you're trying to find a reducer. I have found that the reducers are in the steel catalog, so that is in this same appurtenances. So if I pull this down, there's also Ys in this one. I think that's the only one that I found that has Ys. This one has a reducer and Ys within this appurtenances, which is referencing the steel. And again, the way to find these different pressure network catalogs: design, pull down, set your pressure network catalog, and there are your different options. When you go to create in your settings underneath pressure networks part list, you can just right click in new. Whichever one you're set on, that's another thing. Whichever one you are set on here, so we'll call it steel. When you go down in your settings tab underneath pressure network parts list and right click to hit new, what you have available is what is within this steel. If you've got it set to the wrong one, you're like, oh, I need a different one. You just cancel out of it, come down here, set your pressure network to a different one. We'll say flanged. Right click, new, and then now you're looking at the flanged catalog, and it has all of these options available: hydrant, pressure air relief valve, all the different gate valves, butterfly valves, ball valves. Again, it's really confusing, but each catalog has things in it that the other one might not have, and then also they have different visual appearances, the way they look. So if you have someone that this is the way that they want their water plans to look, or the force main plans at the bins, you'll want to use the flange catalog. If you are using HDPE, smaller sizes, I was a little surprised by that. The HDPE catalog had, in its pressure pipes, it had 2-inch through 3-inch. It didn't have anything bigger than that. The PVC had 4-inch through 36-inch, so that's pretty good. That gives you a lot of options. The PVC had quite a few options available on valves and all, so that was good, and it has a hydrant, so that's a plus. If you're doing a water main or doing a fire run or something like that. It also has a reducer. That's good. I didn't actually see that the first time I created this. So if you need to add something in, you right click, find what you need to add, and I'll do that again. I ran through a step too fast. You want to add your type, click on reducer, say OK, and then right click on that again. You add size, you click all sizes, say OK. You don't have to do all sizes, and again that puts in just a lot of different types with names and sizes, but it gives you everything under the sun as far as options for reducers, so that's a plus. And it's paying to go through and rename this 4-inch by 3-inch. reducer, but it eliminates the clutter inside of the pull down list when you go to actually start adding these reducers to your network. So that's the PVC parts list. We have elbows, T's, reducers. See what else they had available. They did have caps. I like putting those on at the end of runs. I hadn't added that in initially. I was just kind of going through a test run of showing everything that was available. So if you need a cap, it gives you every size cap. So that's the PVC. I think I showed you the push on, but just to kind of give you an idea. Push on. I've got everything in the push on. So they have crosses, elbows, T's underneath your fittings category. The appurtenances, there's not much in the appurtenances availability. And then the pressure pipe should have all the different, no, it has 4 through 36. So bigger size than that you won't have in this catalog now, this network catalog. Mechanical. The mechanical, the bins and the fittings look a little different, and I don't think there's much in the way of appurtenances in the mechanical. Let me see. There is a couple. I didn't add any in. Oh, there's a gate valve. There's a few different gate valves and a butterfly valve, which gives you 3-inch through 48-inch. On the gate valve, it gives you 3-inch through 12-inch. The pipes give you 4-inch through 48-inch, so a little bit bigger in the mechanical parts list. The appurtenances for this, again, if you've got a network created and you need to add something, go edit network, plan layout tools, add appurtenance, and it'll throw one in there. Actually, I think I was on the wrong list. Mechanical parts list. That's why I was getting different. This is what I should have been seeing. So when you're switching back and forth through catalogs, you'll need to make sure that you're looking at the right one so that you put what you're supposed to be putting in. So this would be an appurtenance for the mechanical. Again, a little bit different look from mechanical to push on and mechanical to HDPE. They all just have a little bit of physical differences when you look at them. I think we already looked at the PVC. The bins look a little different in the PVC catalog. You look at the PVC. I've added appurtenances here. Here's a fire hydrant. The fire hydrants tend to look all the same. Fire hydrants are pretty standard. But the other different valves and air release valve. This is an air release valve. They all just kind of have their own little way of looking. I guess I'll run through real quick how I created these so that you can see the steps for creating a pressure parts network. It's very similar to the same setups inside of Civil 3D. You're going to right click on the pressure networks. If you have a polyline already made, that usually is an easier way to do it. You can just do create pressure network from object. So I might just go ahead and do that just for ease of doing it. That's the preferred way. I prefer to try to go through and pick my alignment first, making sure that these are 45s. I did not do that on this run, but if I was to do this for a design, I would run through and make sure those are 45s or 22 and a halfs, whatever the bin you need. So if you right click, create pressure network from object, click on your line that you've created. It's saying, is it going to be flowing this way? So you can say yes. If you need to go the other way, you just hit R for reverse. Give yourself a name. We'll say PVC test, because that's what we're trying to test out. So depending on which part list you want to use, you pick that here. If you want to see what is contained in that part list, click this button here, and it pulls up that window we had been looking at that shows what is actually in here, what sizes you have. If you need to add more things, go through the steps of adding type, seeing what you need to add. If you get that taken care of, a real big thing with this is this style over here. So if you bring a bin or a T or anything else in, you want to set these styles to be what you want them before you place the network, because if you have it set as a force main style, which really is just a layer difference, it's going to make it a different color depending on how your template is set up. When you place them, they're all going to be force main instead of what you're looking for if it's a water main. So as they are set here before you create the network is how they will be placed when you create the network. It's asking you what size you want to run for this pipe run, so I'll say 12-inch. Ask you what layers you want. This is important to make sure these aren't on layer 0. Nobody likes stuff on layer 0. It's asking you what surface you want to use. I'll use the EG. I don't have an alignment for this currently. It's asking you the typical depth of cover. We'll say 5 feet. And you can erase that line if you want, or you can leave it and create an alignment from it afterwards. So to create a pressure network, give yourself a name, select your parts list, select your size, and a few of these other things are just depending on what you want to do, and then you hit OK. And it didn't put any bins in for me, which is odd, because I do have bins available in this part list. Doesn't look like I have any 12-inch bins available. So if I do this again and pick an 8-inch pipe, I'm just curious to see if it will put in the bins. This is kind of, when I say this is one of the more confusing pieces to figure out within Civil 3D. I've been using pressure networks since they were created in CAD and still have stuff like that where it just kind of does what it wants to do sometimes. We'll say PVC test 2. Pick the PVC. Did I not do create pressure network from object? I think I did not. Yeah, pressure network from object. We'll pick PVC parts list. Let's go 8-inch. Here's the different pipe types over here: DR14, DR18, DR25. If you have a specific one you're needing. Yeah, that was it. Inside of that parts list, there was not 12-inch bins. So when I went to 8-inch, it did put them in. So you would have to go and look and see why there are not 12-inch bins inside of your PVC parts list. I'm not sure why. I'm positive that I put all of the, yeah, I did all the sizes. So for some reason in the PVC part list, there's not 12-inch bins available. Which is very interesting. Not sure why that would be. Maybe after that size they go to ductile, and that was only giving me options for PVC bins. If you go to one of the other, if you go to this, this is looking at the steel. You do have a 12-inch bin available, so you would be able to add a fitting if you did need a 12-inch. Switch to a pressure network parts list that does have the fitting that you need available. Click and add fitting. And if you disconnect this from the part after it, you just slide this up, connect it up, slide it back with this little diamond, and I didn't pick the right bend, so we'll take it out and put a 45 in. 12-inch 45. Same thing, kind of move it back a little bit. Click to add it to that pipe. Bring it down so that it's close. Like I said, I did not check to see if that was a 45. It goes to show that that is not a 45. So you would want to kind of adjust this back a little ways to make sure that it is doing what you want it to do. Angle-wise, you don't want to put in something that's not a real angle. It'll be harder in the long run once you start designing this thing. Something neat with the fittings as you go, if Civil 3D added this one in as it was supposed to, as far as which way they're oriented, you add another 12-inch 45 in, place it where it's not connected to the pipe. These arrows here, flip it, kind of give you some options with how it's oriented. There we go. So then after you get it going the direction you want it to, the circle will get it going the other direction you need it to. That's pretty close. We want it a little better, I think, but it'll serve for our purposes. Connect those up, and again, it's smarter to make sure these are correct 45-degree angles before you make the network. But if you do it and have to come back and fix it, you can disconnect parts and reconnect them up after they are at the right bearing for the angle. I guess we can show how things work. I'll break apart and then we'll make a profile real quick, put this into profile view, and show how to add a vertical bend in profile view. We still have this selected. This is still on the plan editing. So break pipe, and it's like, okay, if there was a 5-foot drop across this pipe, you're going to need a couple pipes to make that bend. So you would click in here, or if you want to add a T or something in there. Again, we'll need to disconnect from pressure part, and that allows you to pull that apart. I'm going to undo that, because sometimes it will allow you to add a T. So we'll do a 12-inch T. Sometimes it'll let you break in the pipe, sometimes it won't. So you would go ahead and add it outside of the pipe, click on your pipe, break pipe, disconnect from part. I'm kind of doing this fast, but again, if you've got something selected, all of these commands are up in the ribbon. I'm a shortcut window type of guy, so I always go to my shortcut options that are, if you have it selected, you can right click and pull up your shortcut windows down here. Once you have that apart, click on your T, on the T, bring it up here, let that icon, the yellow icon, come up, tell you that it's going to connect, reconnect this, so now you would be able to go a run into that. I'm going to go ahead and create an alignment from this. Once you're done with the edits, you can just hit that button to close it out. I'm going to create an alignment real quick. That's the direction we want. I'm just going to do all the defaults on this one so that I can get this. So now we have an alignment. I'll make a profile. Because it was not interfering, it was not over the proposed grade. So I'm gonna leave all the defaults. So we have our pipe and bends. Click on what you want to add into the profile. Let's do an autosave. Tip of the day, I put my autosave at 45 minutes so that it doesn't happen real regular, but I also don't go 4 hours without getting an autosave on my drawing. So select the parts you want. I right click. It can be done in the ribbon too, I believe. Draw parts in profile view. Slide over here, pick the profile that you want, and you can see it put 5 feet from the top of the pipe to the surface. It kind of, as that is rising, your pipes are rising, and then coming back and going flat. So that's really cool. If you had a utility right here that you needed to get some space underneath, and you needed a vertical bend, you would click on your pipe, edit network pull down, profile layout tools, and it's the same. It's a little deceiving because it's the same. It's the same dialog box, but the bends that you add are vertical instead of horizontal because they're in this profile. So I know that the PVC parts list does not have 12-inch bends from our earlier discovery. So I'm going to go back to the one that I use for everything else. Get myself a 12-inch 45. It can be a 22, it could be 11.5, depending on what vertical bend you need. I think I always just default to 45s. I might need to split this part first before I add the bend. We'll see. Let's see how it works. Yeah, it's not going to let me put it in. So, come back up. When you get out of the command, it keeps your profile editing current up here in this blue area, and so you don't have to go back in, because I was going to go back. I was thinking I was going to have to, because it goes away, I was thinking I was going to have to go back and go to the profile again. See, now it's pulled back up. I'm going to break this pipe, not that one, this one. Break the pipe. I'll do one ahead of it. Then I'll need to break this pipe. Do one after it. So now, I can pull this pipe down. I need to pull this one back a little bit, this one forward a little bit, and we can add a 45-degree vertical bend. So you click Add Bend, click on it, and down here in the bottom it asks, do you want to go clockwise or counterclockwise? So clockwise would be going down, counterclockwise would be going up. So I'm going to say clockwise. CL is the shortcut for clockwise. It shows it going down. So move this pipe a little bit. I believe thought we can add pipe again. So we'll pull this back, 12-inch, add pressure pipe. Click here. No. It's telling me it's probably a good idea to do this in plan view first. So I will do that after I add these other vertical bends in. We'll go back, do another bend. I don't know if you can do a bend without it being in plan view or not. Let's see. Add bend. And I want it to go clockwise again. Yeah, it did it. Sweet. It was smart enough. I didn't know if it'd know to put it backwards or not. When you say clockwise, it goes up. So we're going to add bend again. This time we're going to go counterclockwise. So CO for counterclockwise. Put it up. And then add bend again. Counterclockwise, I think, on this one too. Yeah. CO puts it backwards. You can just slide these to get them to where they're that is the profile view of it. And this is really handy if you've never used this. If you go to the View tab, Viewport to horizontal. So if you're working in Plan View and Profile View, split your viewport up. And my viewport needs to be rotated on the top. This is another handy command that I've used a lot of times in these videos, but D view, you hit enter again, TW for twist, then enter again, and then the amount that you want to twist. My project is due north, so I'm going to do a -90 to turn it to the right, and then you have to enter again. The first few times you do that command, count on not doing it right, because it's confusing. All right, so there are the vertical bins that I added. Here they are in profile view. From this point, I'm going to hit this plus sign, and that will add pipe and connect it over here to that bin. Same with this. I'm going to hit the plus sign and add pipe over here. Now if I add these two pipes into my profile by right-clicking, draw parts in profile view, you now have adequate cover underneath your utility. So that is I recently just learned that you could add vertical bins in the profile view. I looked up online and it was telling me to put things into like 3D view and then use the P command to switch between which orientation you want, up or down, and man, it was a pain. This is significantly easier. So glad I found it out, and I hope that you're able to use it too. If you have your network created and want to label your bins, I don't really label pipes in pressure networks. I just do that in profile view. You can click on one of the bins, add labels, add pressure network labels, and it pulls up your dialog box, pressure network pipe. If you want to do the plan view, say entire network plan, pick your appurtenance and fitting labels, say add, and it's going to put them in there. Now, there's a lot of labels because all of these were on the same network, but it keeps you from having to do it individually. And typically you would only do this with this much information in your plot sheets. So that's how you do it there. I'm going to undo a few times and get out of that because it made a big mess of my screen. But I did want to show you how to do the entire network plan. You don't have to do entire network. You can do single pressure part plan. Same options. Add and go through and just pick the pieces that you want to label. A little easier to control if you do it individually so that everything isn't over the top of each other. In profile view, I do prefer to do the entire network, pressure network profile. You have these set automatically. And click, and it gives you your labels, and you kind of move them around. This profile is really short, so these big labels with all this information are over the top of each other, but when you have a longer run, it's not as much of a problem. If you need to swap a part, it works just like it does whenever you are in a gravity network. If you've used gravity networks before, click on a part, right click, swap pressure part, and it pulls up this list. So we are looking at EG water and I'm not sure why it's only getting there. So for the 250 psi, there's a 30 to 36 option. For 350 psi, there's all the rest of the sizes. pick which size you want to upsize it to, or maybe I'll downsize it and say okay, and it just switches there, and then it also does it here. Same with the bends. If you pick the wrong, if somehow or another the wrong size got put in, swap pressure part. Do you want to make an elbow? Yes. Let's make it 4 inches and say okay. And then swaps. Obviously that's the wrong size for this pipe, but it was just for visual to see how it switches. I think that is the majority of what you would need to know for a pressure network. There's a lot to learn within the pressure networks. And the more you work with them, the more you'll run across the same things and start getting a better handle on them. But I really think that with this knowledge and these kind of examples that I've tried to clearly explain, it's really difficult at times to explain this stuff clearly within the pressure networks because they're just so confusing. I hope that it will help, and I hope that you like this content and will subscribe. And if you have friends that are working in Civil 3D that are struggling, let them know that I'm putting up information on YouTube, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.